Okay, hello everyone, and I hope we are live. My view count is stuck at 0, but please let me know in the comments if you guys can hear and see us.
I'm getting a little background noise, by the way. I don't know if
I
you
hear
guys are hearing
someone
that.
typing.
The typing would be me. Hopefully it's not like a voice echo, but
It didn't sound like typing to me. But anyway, it seems better now, so whatever it was.
Yeah. Cool, so Curtis says we're all okay. Hi June, hi Curtis, hi everyone who's here. So this is Rocket Lab Weekly, episode 126. So today we have Dave G Investing and Scotto with us. Matt is still looking for his red glasses. He said he needs 3 more minutes and then he will be on the show as well. So how is everybody doing?
I'm all right. It's felt like a little bit of a rougher week with the baby, so I felt like I needed a beer. So cheers, everyone out there.
fair.
You getting by okay with your kids, Scott?
I'm getting by, yeah. Yeah. As frustrating as it is, at the end of every day, I'm just like, this is so fun. This is so worth it. I love being a dad.
Yeah. How about you, Vince?
Yeah, it's for me, it's like normalizing. Like the last kid is also like starting to sleep and we're getting longer nights. It's not perfect, but it's the best in almost 2 years. So I can't complain.
Time for baby number 5 then, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, my wife would like one and one more, but we see. It depends on the stock price. If we go to 500, I don't mind, but
no pressure, Peter.
Stay at this level. The pressure is on Sir Peter Beck, and the Neutron launch. So we see.
Not like he needs any more pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
But
cool.
yeah, other than that, I have been making a few trades this week. I've been adding to my EchoStar exposure with an eye towards the SpaceX IPO, because as you guys probably know, they have a lot of SpaceX shares. So that's kind of the best way to get exposure to SpaceX on the public markets, and a little bit of Intuitive Machines right now. So yeah. And then
no Redwire, okay?
No, I mean,
wait, what about Shift 4?
I did add some Shift 4,
okay,
and I do still have a position in it. And I saw that Jared has been buying, which I like, and it does seem cheap. So yeah, I'm going to continue to hold Shift 4. This was the EchoStar is a big one, just kind of a play on the fact that I expect the SpaceX IPO, if it does go through, to just be ridiculous, and prices will go probably like to very unreasonable levels, and at that point I'll just unload all my EchoStar shares. That's kind of my plan anyway. We'll see. Knowing Elon, he'll decide tomorrow, let's keep it private, and then things won't work out as well.
Yeah. Are you playing it with options, or are you straight buying shares? Or?
No, it was options. Yeah. But I put this expiry pretty far out. So, I mean, every indication seems to be that this IPO is on track, and they may be filing it even in March, and it'll happen around June. But I put the expiry like end of the year. So if for some reason, and the strike price was very conservative as well. So if for some reason I start to think it's not going to happen, I think I'll just get out. And to be honest, like EchoStar's value now, like it seemed like a pretty fair valuation. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
Interesting. And are you guys still the same bullish on the SpaceX IPO for Rocket Lab? Because before the XAI merger, I was like, okay, it's a very comparable. Like the two companies are very, very comparable, and like it should really, really boost Rocket Lab as we go into the the IPO hype. But now that they like acquired XAI and they're moving into space data centers, I feel that it's like a bit more detached. Like somehow SpaceX is more like I don't know, like an Amazon, a collection of different companies, as opposed. Yeah, and I feel that it becomes like less comparable to Rocket Lab. So just curious how you guys, if you changed anything on this, or
I'd agree. And, it wouldn't shock me if over the short term, when SpaceX IPOs, you get a bit of a drawdown in other space names as people sell and get into SpaceX. And hopefully over the long term, it'll be bullish on comparisons to, the multiple it commands and that kind of thing and more attention. But yeah, it's not the pure play space company anymore. But I don't think Rocket Lab will be in 5 years either when you think about them bringing an application online and suddenly providing services. And then you're like, well, is this a pure space company anymore? Like that's the vision. So maybe from that point of view, it'll still.
That is a very good point. And thought about another thing, if SpaceX IPOs at 1.75 trillion valuation, Rocket Lab is going to be 0.04 trillion or maybe 0.04 trillion. Anyways, huge discrepancy between the two companies. Yeah. Of course, SpaceX is much more ahead, but still a huge discrepancy.
Yeah. The wild thing is when EchoStar made that deal with SpaceX to sell their spectrum and get a bunch of SpaceX shares back, at that point, it was valued at like 400 billion. And it's already like,
wow.
How
big part is the SpaceX shares of EchoStar?
Right now, I'd say it's probably a good 2/3 of the value of the company is just their SpaceX ownership.
So did the stock price reflect like if it was 1/3 and now it became 2/3 because the stock?
Yeah, there's been a huge, like if you pull up the chart, there's been a huge run up since like whenever. Yeah, when you see news, SpaceX is now planning to IPO for 1.75, you generally get a bump in it because they're like, oh, well, our shares are going to be worth more or whatever.
Wow, that's very interesting. So Matt, welcome. I told the audience you were looking for your red glasses, and the minute you find them, you will be on.
No red glasses today, but appreciate everybody's patience. Sorry, I was a little bit late. I was at the cigar shop and I was like, oh shit, I'm a little bit late. I need to run home. So that's my fault. My apologies.
No problem. You're perfectly on time for a good show. So how have you been this week?
Good, as always. Bought more stock, bought more Rocket Lab. What else? Palantir, a few other good companies that I like and follow. More Amazon. But overall, things are going well here at the Matty Moolah family office. Excited to see more launches this week. So as always, I feel like we're in good hands and on pace to 100 launches from an Electron vehicle. So really excited.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be crazy. But is there a new launch? I didn't find a new launch date set.
I was just referring to the one that happened
okay.
Yesterday or the day before.
Cool. All right, so let's start the Rocket Lab news and talking about the launch. Yes, we had a successful launch, and our Mr. Matt Money has updated his chart, and we are at 23 launches in the trailing 12-month period, and we have 10 days for next launch to progress to 24. And funny enough, I think that your table is the one that like truly shows how we are doing with the launches and if the cadence is increasing or decreasing. Yes, and Scotto, we have not had an update for a very long time on how we are doing with the launches and how many launches are left this quarter.
Let me share my screen because I'm just looking now, and there's quite a few. And maybe I'm wrong about Q1 being as busy as I thought it might be, but I mean, it also actually, let me bring up Rocket Lab's site too, because if I can bring that up right away.
But that's okay, Scott, because in the past we've had a really slow like April, May. And so like generally it always picks up towards the second half of the second quarter, just based off like historical. So if they're able to, even if it's a little bit delayed and it powers through, then it can still have a very large incremental swing on trailing 12 month.
And I think that's what we're going to see here, because I was looking into Rocket Labs. I was just kind of been going over all the earnings that have come out over the past week, and just kind of double clicking into these upcoming missions, I'm still unclear if this is in chronological order, right? We did have the mystery launch this past week. I think we all kind of know, we all have a pretty good idea who that was and why it wasn't listed. So it's understandable why it wasn't on this list, but I've been keeping a close eye on this because I am wondering, like, is Synspective, IQPS, and JAXA, are these all supposed to be, like, really what I'm asking is we're still unclear if these are in chronological order. I'm trying to recall which one is really out of sorts. I think it's Aspera's not for, like, last I heard, till August 2026. So it seems a little bit weird that it's like, yeah, these are in chronological order, but then we jump to August and then Victus Haze is, I guess, Q2. I'm not sure if Firefly still launches vehicles, but we have Locksat past that as well. But if we kind of cross-reference what we have, where are we? Yeah, so we just had this Insight at Speed as a friend in need, totally unrelated, but the logo from back in November looks eerily reminiscent in terms of who that could be. So that was the 83rd launch and the 12th with that particular customer, if memory serves. And then looking past that, we have Synspective still planned for Q1, or still expected, I should say, for Q1, IQPS, Q1, JAXA, Q1, and then the Daughter of the Stars, that's the ESA, that's also for Q1. Past that, we also have Echo, which is the Viasat satellite. I don't know what's happening with that. They've been really quiet all throughout. And then Kratos, last I heard, is also expected for Q1. So we're at 4 launches now here. We could see a quarter of, knock on wood, but like 7 or 8 launches, I guess.
Wow.
So it's going to be a busy.
I have trouble believing that all those are going to go.
Like, me too. And like devil's advocate, JAXA was supposed to be Q4. ESA was supposed to be Q4. Actually, I think all 4 of these were supposed to be Q4. So maybe they get just pushed into Q2 or whatever. But we have plenty of opportunities though coming up soon. And even if it's not them, it's just like, look at all these 2026 launches. It's like, yeah, those have to go off sometime, So
was that 2 Neutron launches?
Yeah, these might be out of order with everything kind of moving around now, but maybe we even have them all together. Or no, yeah, one was 2020 or Q4 2026 is the one, right? So that would be located right here. And then past that, I'm not sure if the Life Finder should be its own entry at this point. I don't know. And then past that, we're just looking at like just kind of lumping in the 2027s. Yeah, I think so. I'm not too sure about Venus's launch window either. I've always held to that it'd be really cool, like kind of all things considered, if Neutron 1, the test was Venus, because then it's like, if it blows up, it's, you don't have a mad customer and it's like, okay, well, we can rebuild that Venus satellite again. I mean, I'm sure
Sir Peter Beck is the mad customer.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
He put his own money in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I'm not sure if Veda Aspera got moved way up ahead or why it's in this order on Rocket Lab's website, but no matter where you look at it, if Q1's not busy, 2026 is busy. And if that's not busy, it's just getting pushed into 2027. So plenty on the horizon either way.
Yeah, I'm not so worried so much anymore about like a particular quarter because, as we kind of talked about last week, these can really come in bunches and they can get them off so fast when the customers are ready. So, if I think like, it's not like manufacturing cars where you're like, oh, we're not at the run rate to support whatever. It's, you could just hit like, as you said, 8.25 maybe.
Mm-hmm. And even still, like, even if Rocket Lab don't have so many launches, this is another thing that I was really spent a lot of time on over the past week, if I could find it. To make a long story short, Rocket Lab used to just be like, hey, here's our revenue. Then they started breaking out between launch and space. Then they started breaking it out between not just revenue for either side, but the profit and ultimately the margin. Fast forward, they're breaking down between products and services, and even the recognition is what we're really trying to drive to. I think, Dave, you had a post recently about the ASP in Q4. And I think the reason that it was so high is because they've actually started pulling that revenue out of the quarter or like recognizing it earlier.
Yeah.
It's
some
easier.
Clarifications, were definitely made after that post. And I kind of realized the math was a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the principle of the idea is still correct. You could even just say like launch revenue instead of ASP and like the trend is the same,
Yeah, so it's like it's unfortunate for guys who really like to dial in, like myself. Like I want to know where exactly the revenue is coming from at all times. But on the other hand, too, it's like it kind of nullifies that lumpiness. Like, so what if we have, 8 launches in this quarter, 5 in the next? You kind of have that like steady revenue rate that we've come to love with space systems. So kind of bittersweet, but understandable overall.
Yeah.
It's actually very interesting, this accounting, like when you recognize the rocket launch in the accounting, because when I was looking into it, it basically depended on like if it's a generic Electron rocket that can be used for anything and the customer doesn't own it, then they still recognize it the old way, which means that you put out all the money and the launch day, like it's an $8 million recognition, like that's when you deliver to the customer, because the customer bought like a satellite in orbit from you. But if you're manufacturing a custom-made Electron that is only for that customer, and even if the customer cancels, you can't use the Electron for another customer because it was specially made, that's when they're using this overtime recognition, and they're like, okay, we did 20% of the Electrons, so we delivered 20% of the 8 million launch, and then in that sense it gets pulled forward. Even if the launch is like Q4 2026, you still recognize some of that revenue now. So it's
probably better for the company, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like we still have both systems, so it's like extremely confusing to try to recognize how it is. And I hope this little monologue clarified it to some people. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so we go on to the next one, and that is some Neutron news. That's one hungry-looking hippo inside Neutron's assembly and integration complex in Virginia. Our carbon composite reusable fairing, the first of its kind, is undergoing final fluids, avionics, integration, end-to-end systems testing, and installation of its...
don't think we're seeing that.
Yeah, can you share the screen?
Thank you for the tech support. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so it's undergoing its final fluids, avionics, integration, and end-to-end systems testing and installation of its canards and thermal protection systems. Hello, everyone, and I hope we are live. My view count is stuck at 0. Do you guys hear me? Please let me know in the comments if you guys can
hear. Do you guys
hear
have weird audio too?
I'm getting a little background.
Yeah, me too. I don't know where it came from.
I don't know if you guys are hearing that.
Typing.
The typing would be me. Hopefully it's not like a voice. That's the start of today's episode.
Me, but anyway, it seems better now, so whatever it was.
Yeah.
Cool.
Curtis,
do you have a tab open?
June, hi, Curtis. Everyone who's here. So this is Rocket Lab Weekly episode. Yeah, it was somehow this tab started.
It's okay. Happens.
Okay. I was like, oh my god, this is 2 Rocket Lab Weeklies at the same time. Yeah, Vince.
I wasn't sure if it was just me hearing that or if everyone was hearing
yeah, me neither. Me neither. Yeah, my hungry hippo has overloaded the system. Okay, great that it's fixed. So yeah, I mean, guys, final fluid checks, thermal protection, canards being put on. That doesn't sound like there's a lot more steps after this.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, I think the hippo is looking good, and I don't think that's going to be a limiting factor in when we launch anymore. They already said it was kind of qualified. So in my brain, that's not what we need to watch closely and worry about.
Yeah. Me neither. It would be amazing if we could get an update on this tank that blew up, because I really feel that that's like the last thing. Archimedes is doing good. We have the... What did
Still not qualified though. I would like to see the Archimedes qualification, or get timeline on it.
When you say you need more information, Vince, I mean, do you mean like a direct report specifically from the stage 1, like a crash course on what exactly happened and what the investigation found, or because okay.
No, more like someone spotting it, like, you know, how is the new like the new one, like where, like, is it? Yeah, is it like in the qualifications testing, or is it like they're still in the AFP machine, you know, like making the rounds? Or because I feel like that's the one that is sort of the slowest moving particle right now, and everything else is really like on the last steps.
So does the Hippo have propellant? It probably has hydraulic fluid that allows the inner arms that open and close that to move, and so those likely have to be thermal tested, because if you're in space, there's a likelihood that you need to make sure that the temperature of those hydraulics remain, because with if you have like a bunch of liquids in there, obviously that can freeze, but then also if you have any gases in there, that obviously can have an impact on the hydraulics not working as appropriate as well. So you'll need to bleed the hydraulic system to be able to make sure there's no gases, because with gases, it's obviously very compressible. Liquids are not. So I'm sure that's what they kind of mean. You could obviously test it at ambient, but it's going to perform completely differently than if it's at zero or negative zero temperatures in space.
Nice.
Sorry, nerded out.
So you said you're only an oil engineer?
Some mechanics in there.
Pretty good. Sounded pretty convincing to me. All right. So do you guys think that they are sandbagging with the Q4 launch? Like, my hunch is that we're going to see a rocket in Q2 on the pad. And yeah, I think we might even have a launch in Q3.
Really?
I'm willing to bet that internally they're probably talking amongst themselves. Like, we could probably get one off in Q3, but they're, you know, after 2 delays now, I guess 3 technically, it's like they're probably just wanting to really be sure that they're going to hit that date.
Yeah, that's also what I was thinking. Like, we have a chance, like we have a good reason to push it off, and like now we push it to a date that it's like rain or sunshine, we make it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of times, like, a lot of companies will, it depends on what type of schedule, right? Because with all these large projects, whether it's a rocket project and or you're developing a facility or a building, etc., there's always going to be a performance target, and then there's a control target. And what I'm not 100% certain on is, and what it seems like Sir Peter Beck has always kind of been reporting, is the performance target. So like, what if everything goes well, right? There's no drops in any sort of scheduling, or there's no delays of qualification, everything kind of goes to smoothness, it'll hit that kind of performance target. But I've always kind of wondered, you know, it might be a good question that I can add to our backlog of questions for the executive team, is on that, let's just say the December 2024 launch that they initially had kind of slotted, was that the performance target or was that the control target? Because what it made it always seems like is like they're always kind of saying, we're going to try to go as fast as possible with the quality that we expect out of Rocket Lab, you know. So with that, I'm kind of curious if now, like you guys are stating, are they still stating a control target versus what is versus what could be are they stating a performance target versus a control target, meaning, you know, is the performance target actually going to be the end of 2Q, early 3Q, mid 3Q, and the control target is more of that 4Q number. So
I'm curious, what do you guys think? Would it have been better to like massively sandbag from the start and just say, when they announced Neutron, we're probably going to launch in like 2027, 2028, or go with the strategy that they have and I guess potentially have more excitement over the short term? But then when you miss it, you know, people, and as they say, it's a rocket program, they do often get delayed.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an interesting philosophical question, because, you know, I do think partially the run-up of Rocket Lab's stock price has been because Neutron is getting so close, and then they have been able to like raise money on that to acquire other companies, which further increase the stock price. So like, I'm not sure if in 2024 when the stock price was at $4, and we were worried about them running out of money. If they would have said like, we're not launching until 2026.
That's true.
I mean, I'm happy they did it this way, and I'm sure that they were not lying. It's like, like nobody has ever built a Neutron rocket before, and as Sir Peter Beck said, that he's like trying to keep the culture of Rocket Lab. So maybe, like, I kind of get the feeling that he's like, the way Sir Peter Beck is thinking, that let's do like 10 extra tests now, and then it speeds us up like later, and maybe like other companies like Firefly would have said, okay, the engines are qualified, they would have launched faster, like just to launch. And I think that Sir Peter Beck feels that they have a lot of money in the bank, everything is going good, like contracts are going good, and there's like, it just doesn't make any sense to like blow up a rocket on the pad and then like miss out on contracts. Or and I think he's right. I'm with him.
Yeah, I go back to I was just gonna say, one thing I go back to thinking about launch is his interview he did with Eric Berger, and yes, that was before this tank failure, but he said if we don't launch in 2026, that would be a definite fail. And I'm sure in his mind he allows for some issues to come up like this tank thing. So that does still make me hopeful that the launch will happen this year.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead, Vince.
No, you go ahead.
Ah, it's all right.
No, I was gonna say that like if they don't launch in 2026, like the development program I think goes into its 7th year, and then I don't think you can call it like record, like we developed a medium rocket in record time and nobody does it as fast as us anymore. Like it kind of starts slipping into that's about the average time rockets get developed. So I understand why he says it would be a failure in one way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, to me, I wouldn't have changed the way that they did it. I think that they said, hey, 2021, we have a big, hairy, audacious goal that we want to achieve. And as I think Dave eloquently put, as they've been able to get the physical models instead of the digital models, that they built and designed on the computers, they have likely figured out ways to expand the manufacturing to be able to meet the potential demand for this. And I think at this point, we need to worry more so about the future cadence rather than, is it going to launch in 3Q or 4Q? I think the thing that's most important is do they have the manufacturing set in place to really take this thing to the next level and grab a substantial market share? Yes, the first launch is important, but we're beyond that now. The first launch is going to be inevitable. It's going to happen within the next 12 months, 12, 18 months. But does it really matter if it happens in 12 to 18 months? What's more important is in 36 months from now, is this a consistent revenue part of the business? And are we trending towards profitability? So I think people are hyper focusing on Neutron, and yes, you need to kind of get through one piece before you get to the other. But I think we can now say that we have a substantial completion, and yes, keep an eye on Archimedes qualifications, like Dave mentioned. Keep an eye on stage 1, tank qualification, etc. But I think the thing that's most concerning to me, which has been relieved through this, is through that stage 1 qualification, there was a misstep, and it's going to be resolved in months, not years. And I think that still differentiates Rocket Lab from, I would say, majority of other companies that have developed rockets recently. And so to me, I'm more so looking towards, how does this look in 28, 29? I've always looked at Rocket Lab as a 20, 30 plus company when I started investing at it. Now I'm starting to look towards 2035. And to me, the future looks bright. And so, you could get hyper focused on, does it work this quarter, that quarter? And that's okay, depending on what kind of investor or trader you are. But to me, I'm more so looking at, does this have a substantial impact on what's going to be happening in 2035? And what I've seen in terms of the resilience of the company, even with respect to a failure, shows that the company can handle it, and the company will persevere, regardless if there's one small misstep on a prototype. And number 2 and number 3s will eventually flow through. And so far, it looks very promising. Now, once we launch, maybe there's going to be redesigns of some of those other components. But from what we're seeing is everything looks to be qualifying as expected, except for a third-party model and on a specific part of the rocket. So I'm very optimistic going through into 2027 and beyond.
Mhm.
Cool. All right. So now we go on to the next topic. This one is a tweet by Scotto. He says, interesting, on the same day that Rocket Lab announced their new silicon solar arrays, Redwire, who partner with Rocket Lab on their Rosa panels, introduced a new solar array for large space infrastructure. Coincidence or something more? Scotto, would you care to explain this post a little bit, like what this means between the two companies and, revenue wise, or is this just hype and announcements?
I mean, I don't know. I wish I had anything more to really bring to the table, but Redwire is kind of notoriously quiet in terms of like what contracts look like. And I mean that in terms of like, a lot of the time there's like, hey, we're partnering with so-and-so to do a thing. And it's like, okay, but like one thing or like 1,000 things, like, so they've always been really vague. But like the one data point that we do have is we know that Rocket Lab's solar is integrated with Redwire's roll-up solar panels that power the International Space Station. And now it looks like Redwire is rolling out basically like an updated or upgraded version of ROSA, the roll-up solar array, to what is now ELSA, which I don't recall the name, something solar array. But it's just like a better form factor for what they're already doing really well in. And it's not unreasonable to assume that they'll continue the partnership, as we've seen with not just the solar panels, but the SDA stuff as well. Like Rocket Lab and Redwire are no strangers to partnering up, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's what we're seeing here going forward.
Okay, cool. And any of you other two know anything about this partnership or solar arrays? And
yeah, we'll see what comes of it. I think Scott explained it pretty well.
Okay, all right. So the next one is also a tweet by Scotto. So there has been several insider sales, and we officially have a red flag now. So it looks like Sir Peter Beck sold 2.1% of his shares. That's insignificant. CFO Adam Spice, 35% of his shares. Frank Klein, COO, 14.3%, and Arjun Kampani, 11.6% of his shares. Again, probably most of this is for tax purposes, but Adam Spice, what do we think about that?
I mean, so I can already see the criticism. We're spreading FUD and speculation, but like, I'm not sure how to spin this positively when any management in a company sells a third of their shares. I guess one positive spin that we can put on this is late September 2025. Vince, are you able to click on executive ownership, the slide on the left there?
Let me see. Executive ownership, like this one, yeah?
Yeah, perfect. So you can see a big uptick in Q2 into Q3. So that was September 18th. There's a Form 4 that was filed. And essentially what you see, that big uptick from Adam Spice was, no, not a sell to cover. It's an options. It's options related. I'm just looking for the proper term on the screen here.
Was it RSUs or?
I think it was RSU. Yeah, stock option vests, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah. So actually, Vince, can I just share my screen again? I have it up on the screen. I might as well just bring you guys in. It'd be easier to try to explain that way. But
so, here we go.
Yeah, so this is the form. Essentially what happens here is Adam is awarded a bunch of shares, as we can see here. And then what really matters here is at the bottom, the derivative securities acquired, or the table 2, we'll just call it. There is still stock options, the right to buy at $1.09. So it's safe to say he's going to execute on those. My understanding of this is there was 1.9 million that were exercised. You see that echoed down here and here. but it looks like there are still 3.2 million outstanding. So to say that a different way, like when we do see Atom have that big tick down, well, we're probably going to see another big tick right back up. I think it's an annual delay in between the two. So actually, what does this say? The stock option was granted on August 3rd, 2018. Also, that's just since he's been able to buy, has been since August 3rd, 2018, I think that means, and had vesting commencement date of May 25th, 2018. A quarter of the shares subject to the stock option vest on the 1-year anniversary of the vesting commencement date, and 1/48th of the shares subject to stock option vest on a monthly basis each month thereafter, subject in each case to the reporting person's continued service relationship through each applicable vesting date. Yeah, so I'm actually less clear on this now that I've read this another time, because that's, I mean, unless that's the number that's being pulled from over a series of 48 months. Either way, all this to say is, like, I believe that number is still outstanding. So we could kind of like artificially add that to Atom's shares, and that would give us a true count of what they were. So if even after the selling of 1/3, you could assume another, what is that, 3.2 million shares on top of that. So it's not like he's completely sold out. He's all vested around 4 to 5 million shares. So still plenty to go.
I don't like to zoom in too much on this stuff, but like, do we have a chart going all the way back to say 2022 or something on their share counts?
That's what this is. This is Q2.
Oh, there. Sorry, I didn't check the date.
And that's that's pretty much as far back as we're able to go. You can see like kind of when Rocket Lab went public.
Yeah,
the date was pretty hard cut off it. I mean, some of the entries can go back a little bit further, but some we just don't have.
So can I take a quick look at that chart again? Sorry, if you don't mind.
This guy.
Okay, so it's hard to see some of the lower lines because they're so low, but it looks like overall we're kind of trending pretty flat. Like I would say the trend for the majority of these people is not upwards. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
the thing that we don't also know is what future awards are going to be. And
good point.
The thing that's difficult as well is those awards were presented when the stock was $3, $4, or $5, and they have yet to vest, likely because of a 48 or 30, 48 month or 36 month kind of time frame. And so who knows? Maybe he's just getting prepared for a large jump in total shares that are going to be allotted to him as part of his compensation. I don't know. That's a speculation, but to me, based off of everything that I've heard out of Atom, it doesn't seem like he's one that wants to jump ship or anything like that. So I think he's just doing well by his family and making sure that he, one, either has the money to be able to spend for taxes, and then two, who knows what his future obligation looks like, right? The other shares are restricted or not public. So you don't know how much he has coming down the pipeline. Maybe he has another couple million shares coming his way. And with that, obviously, you're going to have to pay a lot of additional taxes associated with it.
Yeah. I guess my point, though, is over the long run, if you're paying taxes on shares you're receiving, yes, you'll have to sell, but the trend would be upwards on the overall share count.
Yeah.
But, I don't have any problem with it, and I'm still holding my shares. So, yeah.
At the same time, the value of those shares from 2022 to now, like all of ours, have gone up, 15x. So while it might be flat from 2022 to now, is that the value? Yeah.
Yeah, in dollar.
So,
Yeah. Like you mean that, let's say that before it was like 50% of their net worth was in Rocket Lab, and then it became 90%, and then now it's like 99.999% of their net, because like Adam came from another company, so maybe he had a couple of millions of dollars of 401k or other awarded stocks. So he was and now like his ownership in Rocket Lab is, I think he's in the hundreds of millions of dollars now. No,
it looks like 50, give or take. Yeah.
Okay. So like his net worth became like 95% Rocket Lab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as Bray says in the chat, there's nothing wrong with even these guys wanting to have a diverse portfolio a little bit.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, it depends. Like, I'm not saying Adam's leaving anytime soon, but like I think a lot of people are saying, I mean, what is his next goal? Is he going to help, be a director on other companies? Is he going to? And so if that's the case, then he needs to have the capital to be able to buy into some of those companies to give him credit and just like all the other directors that we have in our company, right? Like they're not internal management, they're external, and so those folks had to buy in and or get awarded some of these shares before for them to be able to be participating on the board. And so maybe you don't know, maybe that's what Adam is also looking towards. How else does he want to spread his expertise from what he's done with Broadcom, and obviously being part of being CFO since 2018. He's probably looking at, okay, I've been here 8 years. I'm not saying he's trying to leave anytime soon, but eventually his tenure is going to come to a close. How do I secure that next tranche? Adam doesn't seem like the type of guy that's just going to go put his feet up on a beach. Maybe he is, I don't know, but he's probably going to be part of some board or multiple boards and want to help bring the future of other companies forward as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think we can all agree that this looks a bit better.
Now we're talking.
You like to see it.
I think I've never seen anything like this. Like all the board members are like crazily going up in percentages.
Mm-hmm. Those were awards, though. To be fair, the Isaacman stuff, those were all market orders, but the
market orders is what I really like seeing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So next news. So
Adam Spice joined in 2018. He did not join in 2023, 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Say that again.
Sorry, somebody in the chat just keeps saying incorrect information. I just wanted to call it out that Adam Spice has been a part of the company since 2018. He helped take the company public. So
yeah, cool. So Crypto Tran, a must follow in the Rocket Lab community, so posted this. So not later than 30 days after the date of the enactment of this act, the administrator shall terminate the Mars sample return program in effect on such date of enactment, including all related contracts, task orders, and project structures contained with such program that are in place on such date. And B, establishment of new Mars sample return program. So NASA is establishing a new Mars sample return program. So all of us who was predicting that the Mars sample return is not dead and it will resurrect in some other form, we were right. It was called the Mars sample return program, and now it's the new Mars sample return program. Very, very creative name.
It's like Nintendo with their naming conventions.
Yeah.
What a roller coaster. It's dead. It's alive. No, maybe it's alive. It's dead. No. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Hopefully it stays alive this time.
Exactly. And then Rocket Lab is posting again about their Mars telecommunication orbiter. So is Blue Origin posting about it. The two companies seem to be going neck and neck. And the Mars telecommunication orbiter, which I believe also changed name to, I think it's called MTN, Mars Telecommunication Network now.
Yeah. Now there'll be more than one satellite.
Exactly. Yeah. So what do we think about this? I saw that the new program caps the price at $8 billion for the return program. You could almost hire Rocket Lab 2 times for that money, because I believe that their bid was $4 billion, and I believe that was including the Mars telecommunication orbiter. And if we take that out, which is supposed to be $700 million, maybe their bid was less, maybe $500 million, then it's $3.5 billion for the rest of the mission that is capped at $8 billion. So I would say we have good chances on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Great news. Yeah. Love to see it.
Yeah.
I do find it fascinating how these companies just almost like they're fighting it out for the contract in the court of public opinion on X and Twitter and stuff. You know, it really comes down to their bid and the price and all that kind of stuff, and then the analysis. So I kind of wonder, like, why the like, what's the benefit of kind of pushing it on the public domain so much? You know,
I think it's a new way in which we do NASA. I think with Jared Isaacman at the helm, I think he's looking more at multiple solutions to the same problem than just a singular one, where you hyper focus and potentially give the award to one. I think the same approach is going to happen with Golden Dome. I think the same approach is going to happen with what we've seen at the Space Development Agency. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's not just one big contract, or I would be surprised if it's just one big contract awarded to one individual. As we now are kind of seeing, it's a network, and with that network, there's likely to be multiple providers to make sure that there's an opportunity in case one decides to unfortunately fail. It's not, I don't want to say more of a shotgun approach, because, you know, a shotgun approach, everyone thinks is very widespread, but you can adjust the choke on a shotgun, right? To kind of say, depending on what you're doing. And with that, you still have multiple parties that could potentially be a part of that shotgun to help solve a particular problem. But with respect to the social media aspect of things, I think it's just wishing and forecasting into existence. And I think if anybody's going to get approved, Rocket Lab will definitely be a part of it. Yeah, I don't see a place where Rocket Lab would not be. But I like the fact that it might be called something different, but it's still the same.
So do you guys think posts like this help their chances?
I was going to say, I think that there's one more angle to this, and that is, for you to get the contract, there needs to be a lot of trust that you can fulfill that contract. And I don't know if you guys remember when Boeing and SpaceX was going head to head on the Crew capsule, and SpaceX was like a gamble that NASA gave, like, I think $1.8 billion, which they thought they would fail. And then Boeing was like the sure bet at $4 billion. And they were like, yeah, I mean, you know, we kind of want to diversify. So this, like, we're risking this money on SpaceX, but we know Boeing is going to deliver with the Starliner, and look at the outcome, you know? So I think that it's not necessarily the best price that will win. I think it's the company that the most people, the most lawmakers have the trust in, that they're going to deliver on the contract. And I do think what Matt said, that it's going to be multiple, probably two guys. Hopefully it will be Blue Origin and Rocket Lab, because then the litigation that comes after is minimal.
I think part of it is
SpaceX is moon first. Sorry, I was just going to say SpaceX does their moon first now, so maybe that helps.
Yeah.
I mean, I think part of what is going on is you have to feel good about the company you work for, and you need to drive that purpose out into the organization. You need to drive that purpose out into the world. And, you know, for anybody to be a part of it, if you don't inspire and you don't let people know, like, this is what we're doing and everything like that, then you kind of lose the momentum with inside the organization. And so I think part of it as well is making sure that people know, like, hey, we're broadcasting this to the world. This is who we are, and this is what we do. This is our purpose. It's not necessarily about, you know, always cutting costs and all that. It's about demonstrating that we are doing things for the broader good of the world, and we are part of it. And are you aligned with us or not? So that social aspect of it, I think, plays a lot into that. It's not, there is, of course, the showmanship aspect of it, but at the end of the day, it's also about really pushing that, hey, world, you know, get excited, you know, and that'll also excite the engineers and designers within the company as well, and hopefully inspire the future. Because you think about it, these companies, while we look at them in a very static view on a quarterly by quarterly basis, in 10 years' time, there's a whole new tranche of recruitment that needs to happen to be able to keep these companies growing. And so it's about inspiring the next generation of people that will take the baton from this telecommunications network and build it to different networks that will have to be built for interplanetary travel in the future.
Yeah, so there's multiple angles, yeah, but I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Cool. That was all the SpaceX news. Sorry, Rocket Lab news for the week. And then there is more news that is space related. So, for example, last week we talked about that there is a bill being introduced which would limit any launch provider to have more than 50% of the launches, which would have been really good for Rocket Lab and the upcoming launch provider. But as we pointed out last week, it would be very problematic for from a national security viewpoint, and also the crew supply to the ISS is currently only Falcon 9, and nothing else is even close to it. So it seems like pragmatism prevailed, and they took this away from the law text. So yeah, and do you guys have any comments on this one?
I mean, I had mixed feelings on it to begin with. It didn't seem like it made a lot of sense for NASA, but it seemed good for Rocket Lab. So now, NASA won't be limited over the short term, but I guess long term, it's not quite as good for Rocket Lab. But either way, I'm confident the government wants to foster multiple companies in a competitive landscape. So they're still not going to just give everything to SpaceX if they can avoid it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then the next news is there was a launch in Japan of a startup small launcher company, and this was their third launch attempt, and it suffered an anomaly, and it became a rod and blew up on orbit. So still not how did he say it? No other small launch rocket has been launched other than Electron to orbit in 2025 and in 2026 up till now.
And the Alpha 7 got scrapped last week as well, right?
That was just weather, though, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scrapped.
Yeah.
Not scrapped, sorry.
Launch is hard.
Francisco forwarded all their customers to Rocket Lab phone number. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Launch is hard. Cool. Then the next one is pretty big one in my opinion. SpaceX held a I don't know what you would call it. They attended a conference in Barcelona where they revealed their mobile network and how they are thinking about it. And they are getting a gigantic direct mobile network, and it's already very big, and it's going to be scaled very fast, and it's going to be very big. And I kind of, when I was watching this, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be very hard for anybody else to enter into this market. And that there's an interesting Jarek Eisenman video coming after this that also points to this, that's sort of like communication and this internet is sort of figured out in space, and now we need to look for like new things that we can do in space. So yeah, what do you guys think about this, and how does this relate to Rocket Lab and what we can do with our constellation in space?
I mean, it seems like SpaceX is making a lot of progress. I think if I was like a mobile network operator, I'd be getting a little uncomfortable with the way things are going. It's almost like a deal with the devil. If you partner with them, maybe like over the short term, they can help your business and bring you more subscribers. And then in the long term, they might just go direct to customers. So, yeah.
No, 100%. And there's a lot of people out there that don't want to partner with Elon. And so, while you stated that what's the point of additional companies trying to, they have such a large market share already. I mean, Ford was probably one of the persons that dominated a vast majority of cars in the early 1900s. And I'm sure that Ford does not currently own the entire market share of the United States car market today. And so there's people that always want something different, and or depending on their politics, might not necessarily want to be associated with Elon. And so with that, there's always going to be an avenue where other people can go forward. And also specifics, right? Elon specifically is consumer facing with his product. Maybe you need more secure uplinks and downlinks associated with your satellite communications that might not necessarily be utilizing radio frequency, or have a different sort of component to how they transmit the data to and from. And that leaves an opportunity for other players potentially to specialize and come in and do something slightly differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the real SpaceX business for the next decade, like more than anything else, more than even maybe space data centers. But
and I'm kind of like, I wish I'd watched it more recently. It's maybe like 6 months old or so. But Vince, you asked the question, like, is this like how does this impact Rocket Lab? I think that what we're seeing is a net benefit, and the reason I say that is, again, the information is a little hazy, but it was an Elon interview regarding spectrum and whatnot. I think this is around the time that they did the Global Star spectrum, and there's another company that they acquired some spectrum with. But my understanding during that part, because Elon kind of was asked, like, are you guys going to build your own phone? Do you need to build your own phone to kind of pair it with Starlink? And the way that he answered the question was to the tune of like, no, there's just one, sorry about the terminology, like chip or component that needs to be added into phones for them to be able to communicate with the satellites. And as soon as those, again, using the word chip, sorry if it's incorrect, but as soon as that piece is added into the phone, it can now communicate with not just SpaceX's spectrum, but anybody's spectrum. And Apple's already integrating this into their phones. So what was kind of a bottleneck? Yeah, so Elon just kind of went to Apple and was like, hey, are we going to do this with your help, or do we need to do this on our own? And Apple kind of went ahead with that additional component, which can now communicate with just whichever satellite goes up there now. So I think SpaceX kind of broke down that barrier, and Rocket Lab's now free to enter territory alongside.
I mean, there's many ways you could take it, right? I mean, you just showed up the one piece about the Congress trying to initiate a bill where no more than 50% of a particular piece, right? Where does that end? Does it end at launch? Can it end up eventually ending rolling through with satellite communications and satellite networks? And then you think about it as well, how does that then have trickle-on effects associated with Rocket Lab? And then if you think longer term than that, the version 3 of the Starlink can only be launched by Starship. And so eventually you're going to see, which a lot of this is highlighting the Falcon 9, eventually the version 2 will be discontinued. And that is the vast majority of the launches that happen with the Falcon 9. So you'll either have to see a lot of those transfers then move to frequency of Starship launches, and that then opens up the medium launch vehicle market once again for Neutron, where you'll potentially not be competing against 150 launches per year, but maybe something more reasonable like 50 launches per year for Falcon 9. So I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people right now are like, oh my God, are we going to be doing multiple launches of Falcon 9 into the future? I doubt we'll get to a pace of larger than 250 launches per annum on the Falcon 9. And eventually, within, I'd say, the next 3 years, it'll actually start to decline because they'll move a lot of those Starlink launches to the Starship once it's fully up and running. And that's part of the bullishness that I have for Neutron, right? As Neutron is getting started, you're kind of having Falcon 9 at its peak. And so I'm curious to see if they're actually going to deliver more launches on the Falcon 9 this year than they did in 2025. We might be getting to a place where they plateau for 1 or 2 years and eventually start declining. And there's still other things, right? So like the Falcon 9, if you think about it, they still have to do the International Space Station transfers and things like that, right? So it's not going to go completely away. But I think everyone is thinking about, when they talk about a total number, 70% of those are, more north of 50%, but less than 80% of those launches are specifically for Starlink. Now, if you move that to the Starship, that leaves a lot of opportunity then for for Neutron.
Is anybody worried that they're going to have all these Falcon 9 rockets that is like out of use because Starlink is not launches, and then they will just discount the crap out of it to get them booked?
Could be possible.
Yeah.
I know I've heard discussions on that before. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I think short term, there's no risk at all. Like just kind of looking across like relativity, Firefly, what's that other one? Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Terran?
Terran is relativity.
Like, oh yeah, sorry, that's the rocket. But like all of these other launch providers that have had growing backlogs, like to pick on Firefly, I don't know how many constellations they're supposed to have been launching for 5 years now. And if I was the customer, I probably wouldn't be too excited right about now. You know what I mean? And that's just one example. So if it is like, if it is Firefly or Relativity or Stokes Space, there are like plenty of constellations that need to go up. And those will either get pivoted to a Falcon 9, maybe a Neutron. I mean, maybe in the case of, Stoke, or maybe even Firefly, I guess, that like maybe their medium launch vehicles are more successful than their smaller ones, but there's a lot that still needs to go up very soon at that rate too.
Yeah. I don't know. Seems like every month someone has a new idea for another big constellation. So don't have to worry too much.
All right. And on that note, just wanted to show this video. Let me see if you guys hear the sound.
Let's talk the future of the space economy. Just listeners a little bit how to think about this. A lot of people are seeing, we mostly think of the guys launching. I happen to be invested in like satellite bus companies that are doing really well. There's some cool things there. Like how is this economy evolving? What are the new possibilities in space?
Yeah. So what we've known for 60 years is largely still the case today, which is there is demand across a lot of customers that you can build a business case around for launch, observation, and communications. And we need it to be more than that. So yes, it's great that we're doing standard bus architectures. We got the healthiest, most competitive launch industry in the history of America's space program, the world space program. And communications going to another level where, you're unlocking it from a true consumer perspective with Starlink.
Starlink direct to phone stuff is so cool. It's so cool.
We need something else because you got a lot of money that's going in, a lot of private capital, which is awesome because we didn't have that in the 60s when NASA's budget was 4.25% or whatever % of discretionary budget. We've got a lot of wealthy people and a lot of private capital going to help us, but we need to figure out, I don't know if it's pharmaceutical compounds for cancer treating drugs, if it's biotech, do we all get a couple spare kidneys or something in the fridge, or is it helium-3 on the moon? Whatever it is, we need to crack.
What about tourism? Tourism could be a bigger thing, couldn't it?
It could be. I'm not there yet. Now, when launch costs come down like materially,
Starship works.
You got a shot.
We could a lot.
So they're basically saying that we have had these three communication, Earth observation, and launch since the 60s, and we need new stuff now. And I'm thinking if is it where maybe Rocket Lab will come in with their, or are they going to try to challenge SpaceX? And I mean, to be honest, the only companies that could even challenge SpaceX is Blue Origin if they ever get cadence with their New Glenn, or Rocket Lab, because Rocket Lab is already with Neutron going to have the keys to space and is going to be a satellite manufacturer. So yes, it could be that the governments and they're going to say we cannot just have a monopoly, which is Starlink. We're going to give government contracts, and so we want to spur competition even in this, or it can be that we go into a completely new area. But in that case, what is it?
Yeah, and I wouldn't assume that if you're going into communications, you're necessarily competing directly with Starlink either. There's stuff out there other than just internet constellations. So communications as an umbrella has been growing massively, which is good. But I am excited about, potentially space pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. And he's right. Yeah, it would be very good for the industry to have another big area of investment. And maybe that is space data centers.
I was just going to say. Yeah. Okay, cool. I think that's all that I had for this episode, and we're also coming up on the usual time. So, any final comments from you guys before we call it the show?
No, I mean, we got Firefly's launch coming up on, I thought it was the 10th, but I saw 9th in the chat as well. So it should be in the next couple days. Hopefully it goes off this time. It's supposed to have been going off for a month now, but hopefully that takes flight soon.
I would just say one last thought is Jared Isaacman seems to be kicking ass the past couple of weeks, and it's great to see.
Agreed.
Do you know, have we given thought to, I know we're talking about like Mars transporter, or Mars telecommunication orbiters and networks, etc. Has Rocket Lab ever really put much thought into commercial space stations or how they help assist with those? And I know like other companies, Blue Origin, Sierra Space, etc., have really focused on that, but it seems like Rocket Lab is really staying out of that limelight. And I'm curious if they think more along the lines of we'll help build the components for it, but maybe we don't necessarily want to be in charge of building this commercial space station itself. But anyway, I mean, regardless, I mean, the ISS is going to start being decommissioned in about 6-7 years time. You know, it's going to be up there for much longer than that, but you know, we're on the tail end of that. And so I'm just trying to think what other avenues of potential profit and where Rocket Lab can say fill a void is there around there. Because obviously initially I was thinking Neutron will be helped, you know, with potential missions to and from the ISS and or some of these other commercial space stations. But if the ISS is going to be decommissioned in 5-6 years, what does the wavelength of that potential look like? And the reason I ask is because, you know, having that transport of say 4 or 5 individuals or 3-4 individuals to and from raises the price of a Neutron from say $50 million to north of $275 million, because each individual person has to go under rigorous testing, and not all that is going to be margin, right? I mean, you can't just say it's going to be a 50% margin for one or the other, but at least you get a larger contract, which then even if you shrink margin overall, you potentially get more money for it. So I'm just kind of thinking, you know, what other avenues are we not necessarily investigating as a team that will be revenue packing in the future, that maybe not have a lot of relevance to today's conversation, but in 5, 6, 7 years time, which we know is a wavelength of creating rockets, creating different things that they need to put into space, that we will eventually start to need to hyper focus on.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. I'm starting to wonder if maybe there is becoming a case for Rocket Lab to make their own capsule. You look at, you know, the Dream Chasers had plenty of issues. Obviously, Boeing's capsule has had so many problems. So there's still only really one working capsule out there. And in the future, when we have, say, 4 space stations, whether it's Orbital Reef or VAST or Voyager, or I don't know if Axiom is still working on one. But then maybe it makes sense for Rocket Lab to, you know, start delivering crew and cargo to these things.
I mean, I think you do raise a good point. Do you guys remember when like Facebook was pre-revenue and then they were like, yeah, we just have, because I think when they IPO'd, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is like stock market history, but I think that when they IPO'd, they didn't yet have their business model finalized. And then they basically just said that like, it looks like we're going to have like 1 billion or 2 billions of users. And, you know, that many eyeballs we're going to be able to monetize. And then there was a lot of value given to that, despite you couldn't see it in the numbers. And I kind of feel like, you know, Neutron will have the keys to space. And then how do you value Rocket Lab after that, because we all know that like stage 1 was launch, stage 2 was space systems, and then stage 3 is going to be, using those two to build the space infrastructure. We all know that that's going to be like 80% of the company, very high profit margin, but we don't know what that is going to be, and what Matt is technically saying, that like if they decided to go into space stations and there's a business case for it, it would be very easy for them to do. It would not be like, provided there's a business case, and like I kind of feel like it makes Rocket Lab being kind of hard to value, because you need to trust that, okay, Sir Peter Beck with his business savvy is going to come to this point that, like, I make all these things, we have the rockets, we have the keys to space, and now I'm going to use that to build this superior company.
Yeah,
but we don't know what that is.
It's challenging, when you don't know what their constellation is, what comes next.
And it's also that, if the data is true, like he has always been saying that, launch is like 5 billion TAM, space systems 30 billion TAM, and then the infrastructure is like 300 billion, right? So logically, like, that next step is going to be like 7 to 80% of the future Rocket Lab company that is in 20 years, but what is it going to be?
It is unlocked by what they're doing currently, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's going to be a way eventually. I mean, we're going to test it with the fuel depots in space and everything, right? But I wonder if there's eventually going to be an infrastructure in place where we utilize, because what's easier to do, right? Having like a Starship or a Neutron or something that has the ability to move fuel to some sort of X atmosphere, outside of our atmosphere, out of Earth's sort of depot. And so it's almost like, is there going to be like fuel trucks, but instead of fuel rockets that basically go to these large depots that have fuel? I know they're testing it on a small scale, but you start thinking about it, it's just like, well, it doesn't necessarily make sense for eventually all these, let's just say, starships to come home and then we have to exit the atmosphere. Is it almost better to have a rocket that is a fuel sort of tanker that provides these things? And next thing you know, all you need is an opportunity. So instead of having these reusable rockets that come to and from the atmosphere, which burns up so much fuel, it's almost better to have a crap ton of fuel be brought outside of the atmosphere. So you almost have a fuel station that's in orbit. But that obviously would potentially pose its own problems as well. But I'm just kind of thinking, long term, 10, 20 years down the road, is that the route that something's eventually going to go down, rather than burning up that fuel and needing to land rockets, and that obviously costs fuel, and then bring them back up. I'm sure there's an efficiency equation at some point, like how many rockets do you need to have utilizing that for it actually to make economic sense. But anyway, just some food for thought.
Yeah. Awesome. Good points all around. Well, I really enjoyed the stream today, guys. Thank you so much for coming. I wish you less craziness next week, both in personal and stock market life. And may your sky stays blue and your stock stay green.
Thank you all.
See you guys next week.